so of course I'm supporting you. But my one question was, the position has historically resided in Tepper, and it took a detour around CFA and now School of Computer Science. How do you feel about the position returning to Tepper?
Well, I think that's, I mean, in terms of it returning to Tepper, I don't think that that'll factor into the decision to in choosing new JFC members. I don't believe that the JFC committee should be exclusive to Tepper students just because you're dealing with money and you think business students are like really good with money, but that's definitely not a factor that will be weighed when I choose JFC members for next year.
Thank you. Do you have another question?
Hey, Mai. So currently, as I'm sure you know, new organizations who are created on campus have to wait until they've been recognized for a full year to apply for JFC funding. And then in that initial year of JFC funding, they're only able to be allocated $500. There's currently a proposal underway that'll be discussed at Senate and GSA next month to remove that waiting period so that the organization only has to be recognized for a semester in order to receive JFC funding, and sometimes not even that if the VPF waives that requirement. What's your position on that change?
Well, I'm currently a strong advocate of what's currently in place, which is having the organization be alive for a year before they can apply for JFC funding, just because this will show us as JFC members that this organization will not go defunct without our support. It'll show us that they can fundraise on their own, and the initiatives that they want to put out. It'll show us that they have they have some sort of strategy, some long-term growth strategy in place to remain an organization for years to come and not just for that 1 year. And in terms of either having the period be a semester, only one semester, I also wouldn't agree with that, just because some organizations put on most of their shows either semesterly, so like either all in the fall or in the spring. So I think having that whole year scope will provide like a bigger picture rather than just a semester.
Thank you, Erin. Great question. Next question.
So what are your feelings on organizations like OHM, which have extremely large non-CMU members but still receive full JFC subsidies without any of the legalizations?
Currently on the JFC, for organizations that include a great number of non-CMU students, we typically look for charging at events. So if the event is taking place off campus or somewhere where we believe will attract a great number of non-CMU students, we'll typically look at their revenue to make sure that they're charging some sort of payment so that it's fair to the students, CMU students who pay the student activities fee.
Another question about your increase in the student activities fee. So half of our student body are graduate students, right? But less than 30% of them actually not only do they participate in COSO or student activity funded events, but are actually aware of COSO activities or student funded events. So I remember part of what you mentioned earlier is that you wanted to raise education. So I was wondering, how would you appeal to not only the student body but also the graduate students specifically in order to make them more aware of the funding increase and the activities and the things that you want to do for the education system?
Okay. So on the JFC, like the board as a whole, we do have requirements that some of the seats be filled with members of the GSA or grad students in general, and I think that's a great hub that in terms of educating or reaching out to the graduate student assembly at large. I think having the members on the JFC who are grad students kind of advocate and educate the graduate student assembly at large is a great way to disseminate the information.
Last two questions right here.
How many events would you say that JFC funds do you actually go to on a yearly basis? And do you feel that as the head of JFC, it would be your job to go to those events to understand where the money you're spending is being spent by those organizations?
I can't quantify at the top of my head how many events I go to specifically, but I know that one of the things that I will encourage the JFC members next year to do is to attend the groups that they're assigned to attend specific events put on by their groups to kind of understand where they're coming from, so that when they represent their groups at the JFC meeting, they'll be able to fully represent the group and fully understand, what's important and what's not when it comes to cutting their budget. So I guess, to answer your question in a nutshell, I think that it's important for the JFC members to attend their specific organization events.
This is another question about the student activities fee. I know in the past, grad students have had significant problems with student activities fee increases, and one of the things that's been considered is splitting the undergraduate and graduate student activities fee so they can increase separately. What do you think about that? Having a different undergraduate and student activities fee than a graduate students. So having undergrads pay $120 per semester for student activities fee, and graduate students remain at 94 or even go lower.
I don't think that'll be a feasible option, just because as a JFC we oversee graduate organizations as well, and I think that'll work to complicate the process in terms of creating fair metrics by which we'll abide by. Like it'll just complicate things in terms of that. We'll have to think about well, how many graduate students will actually attend these meetings versus how many undergraduate students, and are we allocating the money fairly because now they're paying different dues. I think that'll just complicate the process. So.
All right, thank you very much. This concludes day 2 of our student government election debates. Once again, just want to thank cmuTV and MediaTek, as well as everyone who came here today and participated. Big thanks for our candidates for their participation, as well as Election Board for co-sponsoring. This is just a message to everyone in the room, as well as those watching via cmuTV YouTube channel. Voting starts April 2nd, ends April 5th. You can vote online or in person on campus on what day? I believe it's the 5th. On campus, you can vote on the 5th. On the 4th and the 5th, okay. On paper balloting. And locations and whatnot will be located on the elections website, so feel free to visit that and see all the candidates' platforms. Thank you.